how Bill Hwang was able to grab all this money.
Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, Wells Fargo, and Vanguard. Is that not the who's who of investment banks? He was always leveraged to the and then you got the last 10 million on your books.
Hwang also kept his banks in the dark. That's how Hwang was able to amass huge positions so quietly.
Bill Hwang.
All right, so let's talk about how Bill Hwang was able to grab all this money or actually get leverage to the U.S. rules prevent individual investors from buying securities with more than 50% of money borrowed on margin. So you can borrow 50%. No such limits apply to hedge funds and family offices.
So they limits big
familiar
limits.
with Archegos say the firm steadily ramped up its leverage. Initially, that meant about 2x or 1 million borrowed for every million of capital. By late March, the leverage was 5x.
That was the law.
So he
that
skirted the
allowed
rule.
you to leverage 5 more.
No, the law says you can only borrow 50% more. You tracking me so far?
Yeah, but how to get to 5?
Because he was like, family office mean I'm trading my own money. So pretty much like if you work for somebody, they like, nah, you can't borrow, like the SEC rules say you can't borrow more than 50%.
So he just did that in a bunch of places.
Nah,
No?
so what he did was like, if I got $2 billion and I'm not working for Charles Schwab, like it's nothing regulated because it's a family office. So family office means you're using your own money or your family's money per se.
Right.
So you're not held to the same standards as a trader on Wall
A regular
Street.
trader, yeah.
So that's how he skirted the rules. So it's almost like every time the Wall Street f***s up, they got to rethink all these rules.
Yeah,
so he found a way.
Yeah.
So he went to Asia, f***ed it up, got banned in Asia. Then he came here and he was like, oh, I'm going to just open up a family office. And as long as it's my money, I can get 5x leverage. So he was skirting all the rules to get to this number. So that's what they're saying. U.S. rules prevent individual investors from borrowing securities with more than 50% of the money borrowed on margin. No such limits apply to hedge. Also, it's hedge funds too. Yeah. So if you're a hedge fund, you could do burner. That's what happened with 2000.
No such limit. So this is the law versus
this is 2008 over
unregulated
again.
area where you can do this as long as you're not a regular trader. If you register as a hedge fund or a family office, these things don't apply to you.
This is 2008 all over again.
Yeah.
Hey, regular Americans, you guys got to follow the rules. We do what the we want, and if we lose, the taxpayer gets to eat it.
Yeah, they'll pass the loss to you.
Right. So that's what happened here. Hwang also kept his banks in the dark by trading via swap agreements. In a typical swap, a bank gives its client exposure to an underlying asset such as a stock. When the client gains or loses from any changes in price, the bank shows up in filings as a registered holder of the share. So he was shadow cloaking it like it's not me.
This is why nobody knew who he was. He was under the radar. And then when he ran it up, they considered him a whale in the market, but nobody knew his name because he was using these swaps and the bank's name would be there. So it's like, all right, Wells Fargo bought this, Charles Schwab bought this, whoever bought this. It's not him showing up. It's the bank who he's leveraging showing up.
And the bank wants to show up. The bank is showing up because you got lender at the bank that's getting paid off because you know how options work or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, if you make money, so all this money he was making, he was cutting somebody commission off that. So they was getting paid off it. Yeah. So human nature was like, this dude.
Let him do it if he's making money.
This dude got a bill. He asked me to put up another bill and I get whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever the arrangement is, the commission, the 3% off that joke. Yeah, all day long. So then he was doing that with 5 banks.
Right.
The same thing. He just ran the same play. And because it's not tied to any system.
And when one bank's coming after you, got him cornered, he owes a lot of money. But when 5, 8 mega banks are coming after you, and this is what they talked about in the story, a few of them started getting out the door.
Yeah.
And then the last one, who I guess still had enough trust, it's almost like if you lose in a house and you got 8 mortgages on it.
Yeah, get
and
out,
then
bro.
all of a sudden, did you see the Tinder swindler?
Nah, I did see it.
Okay, did you see how he got one of them girls to take out like 10 personal loans?
Yeah.
And she just kept going and kept going and kept going?
Yeah.
I bet you those personal loan companies were like, all right, she owes us 50 bands, 100 bands, whatever they gave her. And it was like, we're going to go after her, we're going to get her. Like, in life, she'll make that and she could pay us back. But if it's 10 banks going after 100 bands, now you're a mill in, and the payments you making ain't doing a dent in nothing because you only hitting the minimum. So I bet you they got to the point where the banks were like, we trust this guy can pay us back. He showed $2 billion cash. He'll figure it out. And then you figure out that 3-4 banks then already figured out, nah, he's defaulted. We're going to get out. And then you got the last 10 million on your books. That was Credit Suisse or whatever it's called in here. So they were the last one holding back. So yeah, damn, he took leverage to the max. That's some crazy, like,
But it's not even illegal. Like
it's not illegal, but it's like it just goes to show you that like privilege, and when banks see a certain profile, they're gonna loan you the money, and they feel like they're making a good decision.
It's the salespeople at the bank, because imagine being a salesperson. Yeah, I mean, I'm just breaking it down to the human like psychology aspect of it, to why this is gonna continue happening.
Yeah, greed.
Yeah, like if I'm a salesperson at the bank or whatever, like the lender, and I know it's almost like buying like a mortgage loan. Somebody's getting paid off 5% or something like that, right, and I can lend this money out. My job or that person's job at the bank, they're not the SEC, so they're not like, I think you might be a little bit shady.
Yeah, that's not
like,
fair.
Show me all your stuff. They just like, you got a bill? Give me another bill. Like, all right, bet. He take that same bill, that same bank account, and be like, hey, here go a bill. Give me a bill. So he's doing the same thing. Ain't nobody gonna tell you no, because the interest in it is for like, for I get paid 10% off of this on my commission check for loaning this out.
And he was winning long enough to probably warrant more leverage, because it says in there he built his leverage over time. But
it's
then
like the risk was too high. The risk was too crazy.
The bubble burst, and it was like, oh shit.
That's how Hwang was able to amass huge positions so quietly. And because his lenders had details only of their own dealings with him, they too couldn't know he was piling up, leveraging the same stock via swaps with other banks.
Viacom Incorporated is one example. By late March, Archegos had exposure to tens of millions of shares of the media conglomerate the Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, and Wells Fargo, the largest holder of record. Indexing giant Vanguard Group Incorporated has 59 million shares. So he leveraged, to give you a quick laundry list of the people he borrowed money from by showing whatever cash up front. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, Wells Fargo, and Vanguard. Is that not the who's who of investment banks? And this is one guy.